are going to do the all over rolling tray, I know I showed you all this in a previous video. This was one that I've done. This is one that I started in a previous video. So you probably seen that one too. To this one, I actually did get a few of my extra pieces made, like the coaster and the grinder, which we have these grinders. They are already shipped to us, so they'll be here any day, and then they'll ship out to anyone who purchased in the buy-in. And they are a 4-compartment grinder. They'll be, I did order extras, so there will be extras available on the website once they come in. So it comes with the little sweeper brush too. Gotta put this thing back together. And this one I just added a water slide to match the tray, and I sealed it with epoxy. Same thing with the coaster. It's gonna be a 3-piece set coaster. I got a pink one to do, and then I'll do a green one just to match some of the colors that are highlighted in the tray. I can't think of what else I'm gonna put with this tray set, but it'll be probably a few more other items as well. I got a lighter that I did for it as well. I don't remember where it is, but first thing we'll do is go over how I attach the polyester fabric to the tray and how well you need to get it attached. Like, this is the one that's been started. This one is not fully attached. As you can see, I still have some attaching to do. This side is kind of attached, but it's gonna come up today. I think this one is more done. So yeah, this one is kind of fully attached on this side, but I still got a couple of sides to do. It does, for me, take a few days to get the thing fully attached because of how the fabric is and how it it's kind of resistant. So this is the one that I'm going to do today. This one here. And I have just the regular Dollar Tree tray from Dollar Tree, and it's spray painted white. I do spray paint my backs to match whatever is on front. So this one is spray painted green. And I just do that because after I've messed with this tray so much, there become scuff marks and stuff, and sometimes there's epoxy drips or epoxy that's left on it, so I always spray paint the back. I didn't used to, but I do now. So what we're using, let me see this right here, is just regular old Mod Podge to get the fabric attached to the tray. You do have to do several coats of Mod Podge. We won't go over all of that today, but in order to keep the epoxy from sinking through and causing like blotches in your fabric, you want to completely seal and completely dry. After your last coat of epoxy, you want to make sure that you let it dry for at least 24 hours. But I usually seal the bottom, which is what we're going to do today. Then I'll go back probably tomorrow and get my edges down, which takes a while, because once I do get it down, I kind of flip it over and let it, and put something heavy on top, because it is very, very resistant for some reason. I don't know why. So the first thing that I do is I take some of the Mod Podge and I just pour it into the tray. That's probably way too much. I don't know if I can get any of it up. You know where another cup is. That's too much. But we're just gonna spread it out on the tray. That was way too much. Another thing is you want to use a lot of Mod Podge, but you want to use a lot in sections, or yeah, because you don't want I have a tray. Hand me that tray right. Now, this one actually on here we use I use too much Mod Podge and it seeps through. You can actually see it through the epoxy. You can, I don't know if you can really tell on here, but it does show through the epoxy when you're using too much. But the first thing I do, like I said, is get a nice good coat on the bottom of the tray. And epoxy, I mean, this Mod Podge is just like a glue. And you want to do the bottom first, just so you can have a base for it to stick to. Okay. Once I get the bottom done, I go ahead and put my piece of fabric on. How I want it. And then I just spread it out. I don't wear gloves with my podge. My podge is like Elmer's glue to me and it peels right off. But I'm going to get my bottom down how I want it first. And once I do get the bottom completely like I want it, I'll go back in and do these edges here on the inside. But they have been coated. And see, I'm gonna pull this down some so that it can fall over. There we go. And once you do that, you want to go ahead and put more Mod Podge on. Like I say, you're gonna use a lot of Mod Podge on these. I've done fabric tumblers as well. So if you have any tumbler people watching a live, you can do a fabric tumbler. I've done maybe about 3 of them. And you just want to get that down in there. And the one thing you're going to want to do is soak your corners so that they can fall in. I know when using the sticker paper method, that is like one of the biggest issues that I have with the sticker paper method, is getting those corners to fold in. With the fabric, it is so much easier. But you want to get your fabric completely soaked and get your bottom down. And that's the one thing you want to get dry first, because once your bottom is dry, you can pretty much get your edges and stuff down. But as long as your bottom is not completely dry and done and filled with Mod Podge, it's going to continue to move. I actually have someone working right alongside of me doing another one. Show them the picture that you have. So she's doing another one. It's like this little warning sign. And I think we're going to do the some really cool pieces to go with it, as far as like the, I knew she was gonna call, as far as like the grinders, and I don't know if I'm actually put coasters with that one. The Louis Vuitton one that I did, I put coasters with that one because when I sell rolling trays for ladies, I usually sell the coasters really well as well. So now I just put them with my sets. And as you can see, this was completely full, and I'm almost then used the whole thing. And I'll probably use another 2 cups before I'm completely done with this tray, maybe about 4. So here, once again, what I like to do is kind of really get this corner soaked, and it's gonna allow it to fall in place. Yeah, you see how it just falls in place? Mm-hmm. Yeah, once it's soaked, it'll kind of fall in place. And then again, once it's completely dry, that'll give you that edge to do these sides. Because sometimes these corners get kind of, I don't know how to explain it, with those sticker paper, it is just incredibly hard for me to do. So when I found out that I can do this, I just ran with it. I've been doing this ever since. I have not tried to do the sticker paper ever again. So, hands. Once I get everything down, I kind of go in and just smooth it out. And that way I can really get in and get these. And I don't care about wearing the gloves at this point. Like I said, this My Podge is just like Elmer's glue, and it's going to peel right off. And I don't know if you was like me in high school. Well, in elementary school, we put Elmer's glue on our hands and then just let it dry, rub them together, and peeled it off. So I'm not really worried about the glue. And I'm also going to show you how to get these sides down. Even though we haven't gotten it down, we won't get this one down today. I'm going to show you on one of the other ones that I started how I get it down. So,
my corner's not sticky.
Soak it. And the My Podge does dry clear. So this will be, sometimes I go ahead and put it like in front of a fan to let it dry. But I'm in no rush. And I like to shout out Nicole, one of our moderators, who gave me this image. I really liked this image, and I wanted to put it on a rolling tray. She had one done on one of her car rolling trays. My fabric was kind of wrinkly, so it's like a bulge right here. And it's probably some My Podge up under it. But that's it. So this is how it's gonna look. It's not gonna have those lines in it. We're gonna put several more coats of My Podge on top of this once this dries. But this is how I start my all over rolling tray. And it's gonna dry clear. Let me wash my hands, and then I'll show you how I get my sides down. Can you pass me one of those? Yep, preferably that one. I'm gonna put that one to the side. Well, too much. You probably need to rubber glue a lot. Okay, so this is one where the bottom has completely dried. And as you can see, let me see if there's any. Like right here is where I left too much My Podge. And that's one thing you don't want to do as far as like the streaks and everything with the My Podge. Still got some on my hand. But that is going to show once I get the epoxy on, which I'm not too worried about it. It's not like it's a really big piece. I do have one side completely down. On this one, may have two. Yeah, the top and the bottom is completely down. So what we're going to do is work on this side. And the first thing I do to get my edges down, and like I say, it is so much easier once your bottom has completely dried to do your sides, because then you don't have the fabric moving everywhere. I did post a link of the fabric. I have done off this piece of fabric, I have so much left over. And I have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 already using a piece. I think this was 1 yard of polyester fabric from Amazon. And I still have plenty left. So the first thing I do is the same thing as we did to cover the bottom. I'm going to soak up the bottom up under here first. And this one is going to be a little harder to soak the actual fabric because it has My Podge on it already. And then I just bend this over. And once I get it bent over, I'm going to go ahead and throw some My Podge on it. And as you can see, it's very, like I say, with the resistance, it's going to keep popping up. And popping up and popping up. I'm going to soak it really well. And once I get it really good and soaked, which is not soaked right now, but once I do get it really good and soaked, I pull it really, really, really tight like this. Let me do it kind of facing you all, but I pull it really, really tight, and then I just hold it for a minute. And if I'm sitting in front of a fan, sometimes I'll blow a fan in front of me. Once it goes clear, I'll drop it down and put something heavy on top. And that way it'll keep its form, because you should be able to see the lines from the tray in it, which you're only going to see it if it's pulled tight. So that's why once it clears up a little bit, I know that it's drying, and I drop it down and put something on it. This table is just a marble table, so it's just, I can just wipe this up. Like I said, it's just like Elmer's glue. I'm gonna keep repeating it. And as you can see, it's already bent over because I had my podge already on it. And we're gonna do that for this side and this side. My other side is already done. And we're gonna let that stick.
That's better.
Mm-hmm. That's my favorite.
That one is for this one.
That, both of these.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like I say, we're gonna pull it really, really tight. And then I'm gonna go ahead and show you what I do. So I just drop it down. And it's gonna stay there for a minute. And then I'll just sit like something heavy on it and let it form that shape. So I am back, and I am just going to show you all how I got how I epoxied the all over tray that I've already shown you how I got the image all over the tray. Hello. Let's see if I can get this. This one here is completely finished. It's been stuck down with using my podge. And what I do after I do get everything tightened down, several coats of my podge, we'll do the we'll cut it. And I'm just gonna use an X-Acto knife or this little knifing tool, and it's cardboard up under here, and I'm just gonna go around it. I have another piece of paper because I am actually gonna cut this paper. I just did that one and it cut it, so I'm just going to go around and cut the edges off. And this is a brand new knife, so it is very sharp. I think I'm still on the wood. I had to get this cup epoxy, so I did that as well before I came on here. Wrong way. Okay. I am kind of pressing hard. I don't think it has to be a lot of pressure to get it done. If you have a good sharp knife, I am just pressing a little hard because I'm going around these edges.
Hi, Bubba.
Hi. Okay. I have not mixed up my epoxy yet, but I will do so here in a minute.
Bubba, can I just drink your Lizzie with soda?
I don't care.
Hey.
Okay, so that's that. Here, put that in the trash for me.
Okay.
So now that has been, all the edges have been taken off. Previously I used scissors to cut it off, but I do like using the X-Acto knife a little bit better. So we're going to do both of these trays.
Why you close this so high, Baba?
So kids don't get in it. And I'm just putting down another piece of paper because the other one got cut up. I don't care. Here, hand her.
Do we have any cups?
So this here is our epoxy. Right now we only have it available in 16-ounce kits. Bye, y'all can go back downstairs and close the door. Sorry about that. There was an alarm going off. I am going to hit this with some heat because it is a fresh tumbler and it's going to create some bubbles because the epoxy has not fully or been on there for a whole 30 minutes yet. So every 10 to 15 minutes I'm going to go ahead and hit it with that heat gun to pop any bubbles that may occur. Y'all can go back downstairs. So there's I want to say it's like a 45-minute work time with this epoxy. I worked for about. Why do you have two? Go on downstairs.
Can we have a mini cup?
Nope. I did do this.
I don't let it spit all over my belt because she feel her inside mouth with the thing. I don't want that.
This right here, serving tray, I done not too long ago. I want to say day before yesterday I did this. It is fully cured. I do like the back better than I do the top. I see a lot of people use the top because you can easily just stick the handles right down in it as it's drying and then it'll be stuck. Can you be quiet, please? No, you cannot. But I like the backs better because most of the glitter drip down to the back. So what I'm going to do next time is just completely let it dry and then create my hole. So yeah, I want to use the back next time because all of the glitter floats to the bottom and this just looks so much prettier to me. I don't know. I have most of the time seen other videos with it done just with using the top and people sticking their things right down in here. But next time I'll go ahead and create holes and do my own. And this is a mold that we carry in store. It is on the website. It's just called the serving tray mold if you want to search it in the store. And like I said, I got about a 45-minute work time doing this tray here. For these two trays, these are going to be sets, which I've said before. Oops. These are going to be sets. And the coasters actually match these. So that's the coaster for that one. And I believe I did the one for this one as well. These were the coasters that I just did live about an hour ago. So that's the ones that match this one. Previously I did a tray set and I used the ceramic coasters and did the water slide method on them. But this time I just did these. It was quicker and easier. And once I'm done with this, the coasters will already be done. So let's get this open. Normally I use about 30 mLs on these trays. So I am going to go ahead and use 60 today to cover both of these. That'll be more than enough that I need. Because the 30, I usually do one of these little cups to do the whole tray. And it usually is a little bit left over once done. And right now I'm just opening up this epoxy. I want to get it to, so this is 1-to-1 part. So you'll want to do 30 mLs and then another 30 mLs. These are little silicone cups that we sell also in our store. I like using them because they are reusable. These here are pretty cheap. I get a whole sleeve of them for $1. It's 100 of them that I get off Allegra Medical, I believe it's called, website. And I get a whole sleeve of 100 for $1. And I usually buy about 5 sleeves at a time. And that lasts me as well. But I like the silicone cups better because I can just take a wet wipe and just wipe it out, and it's ready to go for the next time. So it's reusable. So we'll go ahead and add another 30 mLs. So that was part B that I just added in. First one was part A. And as I've said before, you want to do 1-to-1 part of the epoxy resin. So we'll stick that over here. And for mixing, you want to make sure you are mixing your epoxy. You actually want to go a little bit slower than what I'm doing. I'm just so used to mixing really, really fast. I mix paints as well to do paint pours. But to decrease the amount of bubbles that you will have in your epoxy, you do want to mix slow. I'm going to pop all my bubbles by using the heat gun. But if you don't have a heat gun and you're just going to let it sit, I would suggest mixing slow so that there's not a lot of bubbles that occurs. And when you first mix part A and part B, it starts to get really, really cloudy. And you know that your epoxy is done when it kind of goes clear. An approximate mixing time is usually about 3 minutes for all other epoxies that I've used. I usually just mix until clear, which it is now pretty clear. This was not a fresh cup. This was a previously used cup, and there is a little bit of specks in it, but I'll get them out once I pour. I'm going to go ahead and pour on both of them. I'm just going to try and do an equal part on both. And I do want to wipe my stick off. These wooden sticks, they're just wood. You can wipe the epoxy off. If you don't wipe it off, it's just going to leave a coating. But these can be reused. I don't mind reusing them because the epoxy is just sealing the wood. That's all it's doing. And you'll be able to reuse it until you can't reuse it anymore. Usually I end up throwing them away after some time, but I do keep a good portion of them. And I buy them by a box of like 2,000 or 3,000. So for spreading the epoxy, I do use my hands. I do have a little silicone, there's a silicone makeup brush type thing that I've seen people use. I have purchased it before. I do have some, but I don't use them. I feel that it's a lot easier to use my hands. So that's what I do. And for these, since I still have to get these edges, so for the trays, I am going to prop it up. And I just spread the epoxy around. This is just the first coat. The second coat, I'll do just the bottom. But this first coat, I'm going to scoot that over a little bit. This first coat, I am going to get up and do the sides as well. That's why I put on 2 pair of gloves, both hands. I put gloves on both hands, I should say. Normally I don't. I would just glove this hand. And then since I am going up and getting the sides, I am going to stick it on top of something. Stick that over there. So the epoxy is pretty much just sealing the tray. This is the one I just had my epoxy in yet. The epoxy is basically sealing the fabric. I don't know who all have seen my first video, but what I did was my podge fabric, I sublimated. So I used sublimation to attach the image to my fabric. And then I took the fabric and Mod Podged it onto the tray. And that is a pretty thick layer of epoxy. So this epoxy is pretty much just gonna level out and seal the tray. And I don't even think I'll need a second coat. The only reason why I would put another coat on here is if I sell this tray and they decide that they want to get it customized. Like have a customized name on it or something added to it, such as a red sparkly glitter or something like that. But that is pretty much it. This tray is completely done. Once it dries, there's a drying time of at least 6 to 8 hours, and then 24 hours for it to fully cure. And what I'm going to do is just set it up here. And I'm only sitting it on top of something because after about 6 to 8 hours, I'll take it down. But anything that's going to drip over the sides, I want it to drip off and not drip under. And this is the second tray. I have 2 others that I haven't fully got the edges down on yet, so I haven't done those quite yet. And that's the only reason why I'm not epoxying them here today. Otherwise, I will get those done as well. My dog is crying. I don't know if y'all can hear that. I'm sorry if you can. But he just got put in the cage. I'm guessing the kids just put him in the cage.
No, I'll put him in there.
Oh. Well, he got put in the cage, so he crying. Thank you. Like I said, I put on 2 gloves because as I'm touching the sides and putting the epoxy on it, it is getting on this glove. Not much, but enough to have a glove on because you don't want to have the epoxy touch your hands. This epoxy is very sticky and it is creating a chemical reaction once the part A and part B mixes together. I know a lot of people like to say, how long does it take epoxy to dry? Epoxy is not drying per se. It's a chemical reaction that's forming and allowing the 2 pieces to cure together. And that's how you get the hardening effect. And the glassy effect, which is how these are going to turn out, which I like. That's how I wanted it to be. And that's why I chose to do the trays. The coasters for sublimation onto those onto the MDF coasters instead of doing the other ones that I did in the other video. So that also is going to create a pretty thick layer of epoxy, meaning that I will not have to put a second coat on her, which is great. And this one also will be completely done once it cures. I didn't get it up. If you all have any other questions, any questions, you can go ahead and post them in the comments now. I'm excited about getting we have a keychain bundle, an ultimate keychain bundle that'll be launching. It was supposed to launch Monday, but I'm waiting on mica powders to come in, and it is on my label that you all are to receive mica powders in the bundle, so I have to wait until they come in. But I did go ahead and release the epoxy. I got a couple of glitters that's available online now. Okay, that was tilting. There we go. And what I'm just doing is popping bubbles that may have formed in my epoxy. Which, once again, I'll come back every 10 minutes or so and pop bubbles. This one here may need another coat of epoxy. I see it forming some, I don't know if I hit it with too much heat or if it's just not reaching over there, but, or maybe a spot that I missed. Do know that if epoxy has not touched the area before, epoxy is self-leveling, but if there is no epoxy in that spot or hasn't touched, that's why you always want to spread it, because it will basically bypass certain spots. All right, so any questions? Thank you. I don't see anyone asking questions. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and end this live. If you do have any questions, or anybody watching it later on, because it will be saved, go ahead and post them in the comments, and I will be sure to like